My beloved child, let your heart become completely still in this very moment. Pull your mind away from the chaotic noise of the world, away from the heavy anxieties that have been pressing down upon your chest all day long. Before you let your eyes close, before distraction pulls your attention into another direction, I need you to pause and listen to my voice with the deepest part of your soul. This message did not find its way to you by a mere accident or a random twist of fate. It is a holy encounter, a divine appointment designed carefully by my hands, because I knew your spirit could no longer carry this burden alone. Do not turn away, and do not let fear tell you that you are invisible. You are standing at a threshold, and what I am about to speak to you will change the way you see your current suffering forever. You have been walking through a long, blinding night, feeling as though you are entirely isolated in a valley filled with thick smoke. Every unanswered question has become another heavy layer of fog, blinding your eyes, and each silent hour has magnified the terrifying whisper of the enemy telling you that you have been abandoned. I know the exact depth of the pain you hide behind that brave smile you show to the world. I have seen the nights you sat on the edge of your bed, staring into the pitch blackness, weeping in total silence so that nobody else would notice your breaking heart. I know the spiritual exhaustion that has made your wings heavy, making you wonder if your prayers are simply falling to the ground without any meaning. You feel stuck in an endless waiting season, watching others enter their harvest while you remain empty-handed. But my child, hear me clearly tonight. My silence was never my absence. Do not panic because the room is dark. Do not lose your breath because the winds are howling fiercely around your life. The darkness is not your final destiny. It is only a temporary veil that I am using to hide the deep, glorious work I am performing behind the scenes. You thought the storm came to crush your dreams and destroy your future, but I want you to know that I am the one holding the wind. I am not letting the storm break you. I am using it to break open the hardened soil of your life so that the roots of your faith can grow deeper than they ever have before. I am rearranging the pieces of your life. What felt like a brutal delay was actually my hand protecting you from a danger you could not see. What felt like a closed door was my mercy, turning you away from a path that would have stolen your peace forever. Do not look at the howling winds with terror, for they are merely moving the old things out of the way to make room for the supernatural shift that I have already decreed over your destiny. I have counted your wanderings, and every single tear you shed in secret has been collected by my grace. I have never left your side, even when you felt completely numb and forsaken. Look at the stars in the deepest night. They do not create their own light, but they reflect the glory of the heavens when the sky is clear. Your life is meant to be a radiant vessel of my grace. Do not let the small failures or the bitter accusations of the night make you forget the eternal source of your fire. I am holding you close, breathing my Holy Spirit into the broken fragments of your heart, preparing you to step out of the land of doubt and into a magnificent season of restoration. Your breakthrough is closer than your human mind can comprehend, so rest deeply in my embrace, knowing that your Father has never let go of your hand. My precious child, do not let your soul grow weary of waiting for the shift to manifest in the physical world. I know that the hardest part of the journey is not facing the storm itself, but enduring the absolute silence that follows it. You are looking at the scattered, broken pieces of the plans you cherish so deeply, and through your human eyes, you can only see failure, loss, and devastation. But tonight, I am inviting you to look at your life through the lens of my eternal grace. What you call chaos is actually the divine canvas where I have already begun to rearrange your destiny. I had to allow certain things to fall away from your hands, not because I wanted to see you suffer, but because those very things were suffocating the sacred purpose I placed inside you before the foundation of the world. If I did not remove the counterfeit blessings you were holding on to so tightly, you would never have room to receive the authentic breakthrough that I am preparing to pour into your life. Stop trying to fix everything in your own limited strength. You have spent months loe hoi, exhausting your mind and burning out your spirit, trying to force doors open that I have purposefully locked out of my pure mercy. You have been running on the fumes of anxiety, desperately trying to prove your worth to a world that will never truly see you, and attempting to salvage relationships that were designed to end for your own protection. I see how tired your mind is from overthinking every detail, trying to predict tomorrow when tomorrow belongs entirely to me. When you try to carry the weight of the universe on your fragile shoulders, you are stepping out of your identity as my child and living as if you are a fatherless orphan. I am your Jehovah Jireh, your ultimate provider and your sovereign protector. You do not need to struggle to earn what my grace has already set aside for your future. Listen to my voice amidst the quietness of this room. The enemy wants you completely distracted right now. He knows that your breakthrough is closer than it has ever been, and his only weapon left is to flood your mind with toxic doubt, shame, and memories of your past failures. He whispers into your exhaustion, telling you that your current dark season is a permanent prison, and that my promises to you have expired. But I tell you tonight, fear is not your future, and the enemy cannot block the floodgates of favor that I am about to open over your household. Every lie that has been spoken against your identity will be crushed under the weight of my truth. You are not defined by the red ink of your mistakes or the chapters of your life that ended in tears. You are defined by the precious covenant of love that has sealed your soul forever. Think of a magnificent seed buried deep within the cold, black soil. From the outside, it looks like a tragedy. It looks like the seed has been buried, isolated and forgotten in a dark grave. But beneath the surface, away from human applause and sight, a powerful process of breaking and stretching is taking place. The outer shell must break open so that the deep, unshakable roots can expand into the earth. You are in that season of growing deep, sacred roots right now. I am making your foundation completely stormproof. When the breakthrough finally manifests, it will not be a fleeting, temporary emotion. It will be a monumental, lasting testimony of my faithfulness that no human hand can ever tear down. So give me your question marks, surrender your anxiety into my hands, and let my perfect peace guard your heart as I continue to align the stars for your new season. My beloved child, I need you to understand the spiritual warfare that has been heavily surrounding your mind. The enemy has not been attacking you because you are weak or insignificant. He has been attacking you because he is absolutely terrified of the light I have placed inside of you. He sees the magnitude of the calling on your life, and his only strategy is to make you forget who you truly are. He wants you to look at your past mistakes, your current financial struggles, and your unfulfilled desires, and conclude that you are entirely disqualified from my grace. He whispers in the quiet, lonely hours of the night, telling you that your best days are permanently behind you, that you have ruined your chances, and that I have turned my face away from you. But I am telling you today, those are toxic lies straight from the pit of darkness. I have not disqualified you. I have not abandoned you. I have chosen you. I have redeemed you. And I have marked you with a divine purpose that no human mistake and no demonic attack can ever erase. You are my masterpiece, carefully formed, deeply loved, and fiercely protected. Stop agreeing with the voice of the accuser. Stop looking at your own life through the distorted lens of disappointment and shame. I do not look at you and see a failure. I look at you and see a beloved child whose tears have watered the seeds of a magnificent harvest. It is time to wipe your tears and lift your heavy head. The long, exhausting season of weeping in the shadows is coming to an absolute end. You have endured the intense breaking. You have survived the bitter isolation. And you have held on to my hand even when your faith was trembling, like a fragile leaf in a brutal wind. That trembling faith was enough. It was enough for me to move heaven and earth on your behalf. Listen closely to the shift in the spiritual atmosphere right now. A new season is beginning. The heavy, suffocating chains of anxiety that have kept your chest tight and your mind racing are breaking off in my presence. I am releasing a wave of supernatural, unexplainable peace over your household, over your mind, and over your weary body. The doors that have been repeatedly slammed in your face are about to be blown wide open by my unstoppable favor. I am not just going to restore what the enemy stole from you. I am going to multiply it beyond your wildest comprehension. What was delayed was not denied. The preparation is complete, the harvest is ready, and I am calling you to step out of the shadows of fear, to walk boldly into the brilliant light of my promises. Do not look back at the painful wilderness you are finally leaving behind. Keep your eyes fixed entirely on me, for your ultimate breakthrough is unfolding right before your very eyes. My beloved child, I need you to lay down the heavy burden of shame that you have been carrying for far too long. You have pitched your tent in the valley of regret, constantly looking back at chapters of your life that were marked by failure, missed opportunities, and painful decisions. You have allowed the voice of the enemy to play on a continuous loop in your mind, whispering that your past permanently disqualifies you from my future promises. He tells you that you are damaged goods, that it is too late for you to start over, and that you have strayed too far to ever find your way back to my favor. But I am speaking to you today as your creator and your ultimate redeemer. I do not read your story backward. I am the God who makes all things entirely new. When I look at you, I do not see the dark ink stains of your past mistakes. I see the beautiful, resilient masterpiece that I am still actively forming with my own hands. Do not mistake a season of divine pruning for a season of punishment. Think of precious gold passing through the fierce heat of a fire. The master refiner does not put the gold into the intense flames to destroy it, but to purify it. The fire only burns away the impurities, the earthly elements that dull the shine, so that the true, radiant value of the gold can be seen by all. You have walked through a fiery furnace of trials in these past months, and the heat has been incredibly agonizing. You felt as though your spirit was burning, as though everything you held dear was turning to ashes before your eyes. But look at yourself now, my child. You survived. You were not consumed because my hand was shielding you in the very center of the flames. The deep pain you endured was never meant to break your soul. It was allowed so that the fragile, false dependencies of this world could be completely burned away, leaving only a pure, unshakable faith in me. Stop looking at your scars as monuments of your defeat. In my kingdom, scars are the ultimate proof of survival. They are the holy evidence that you have been touched by my healing grace and pulled from the wreckage. So breathe out the heavy condemnation right now. Release the tight, anxious grip you have on your past failures. I am asking you to forgive yourself just as I have already completely forgiven you. The enemy desperately wants you chained to the ghosts of yesterday because he is absolutely terrified of the divine authority you will walk in tomorrow. Step out of the dark, suffocating shadows of your history. Lift your weary eyes for the horizon of your life is bursting with the brilliant light of a new dawn. I am calling you by your true name today. You are chosen, you are entirely forgiven, and you are deeply, unconditionally loved. Let this truth anchor your soul. My beloved child, let your heart understand a profound mystery today. No prayer offered in love, even through a veil of heavy tears, ever falls to the ground without meaning. There are names you have brought before my throne time and time again. There are situations you have placed into my hands day after day, yet outwardly nothing appears to change. Your eyes see only dry ground, closed doors, hardened hearts, and a hope that seems to be growing perilously thin. But my child, do not measure the immense power of your prayers by the speed of what your human eyes can see. There are divine seeds I plant in deeply hidden places, long before the harvest ever appears in the open field. There are rivers of grace I have already caused to flow beneath the surface, long before you see the first green shoots rising through the cracked soil. When you intercede for others, when you lift up the weary, the broken, and the lost, you are stepping into a very holy place with me. You might feel that your prayers are too weak, too fragmented, or lacking in beautiful eloquence. But I do not listen to the perfection of your vocabulary. I listen to the raw, honest posture of your heart. I hear every broken sentence, every heavy sigh you cannot fully put into words, and every moment you quietly remember someone in the middle of a busy day. Even when you groan in spiritual exhaustion, my spirit intercedes for you with groanings too deep for words. I also know there are people who have deeply wounded you, and praying for them feels like an impossible mountain to climb. I'm not asking you to pretend the wound never happened, nor am I telling you to reopen doors that my wisdom has firmly closed. But I am inviting you into a deeper, supernatural freedom. The freedom of refusing to let the bitter poison of resentment dictate your prayers. When you surrender your right to hold on to offense and choose to intercede for those who have hurt you, it does not always change them immediately, but it instantly begins to release you from the heavy, suffocating chains of the past. Interceding in love is not a sign of weakness. It is the ultimate strength of a soul that has completely surrendered its judgment back into the hands of a righteous Father. I want your mouth to become a channel of absolute blessing, and your heart a river carrying pure life. Do not stop praying. I am working in ways your eyes cannot yet perceive, softening hardened hearts, arranging divine encounters, and turning your quiet prayers into monumental harvests of healing and hope in their perfect, appointed season. My precious child, as you continue to walk through this season of waiting, I must warn you about one of the most subtle and destructive traps the enemy will try to lay before your feet: the trap of comparison. I see the moments when your heart aches as you watch others around you stepping into their seasons of harvest, celebrating their answered prayers, and walking boldly through the very doors you have been desperately knocking on. In those vulnerable moments, a quiet, insidious voice whispers into your mind that you have been permanently left behind, that your time has passed, and that I have somehow forgotten the sacred promises I spoke over your life. But hear me clearly today. I do not operate on human calendars, and I do not use the exact same blueprint for every child. You can never measure my faithfulness to you by looking at someone else's journey. Some seeds are designed to sprout quickly, blooming beautifully on the surface in a matter of days, but their roots remain shallow and highly vulnerable to the first strong wind. The seed I have planted within your spirit is entirely different. It requires a much longer season in the dark, unseen soil, because I am actively growing roots that will sustain a massive, generational blessing. Do not despise these hidden years. Do not resent the quiet, frustrating season where it feels like absolutely nothing is happening, while you see only the dark dirt surrounding you. I am establishing a bedrock foundation that no economic storm, no sudden tragedy, and no demonic attack will ever be able to uproot. What you have called a painful delay is actually a divine incubation. During this hidden season, I want you to learn the profound, miraculous power of thanksgiving. Gratitude is not just a polite response when everything in your life goes perfectly. It is a monumental weapon of spiritual warfare. When you choose to give thanks while your hands are still seemingly empty, when you choose to praise me while your heart is still aching with unanswered questions, you are violently breaking the heavy chains of despair. You are declaring to the unseen spiritual realm that your faith is not dependent on immediate, comfortable circumstances, but anchored deeply in my unchanging character. So lift your voice in the darkness. Let your praise rise before the physical dawn even breaks. As you purposefully shift your focus from what you currently lack to who I eternally am, you will feel the heavy fog of depression completely lift from your mind. I am carefully preparing your appointed time, and when it finally arrives, the manifestation of my glory in your life will make every single tear and every day of waiting absolutely worth it. My beloved child, I want to speak directly to the profound ache in your heart that makes you feel as though you are permanently damaged. You look at the fragmented pieces of your life, the dreams that shattered unexpectedly, and you see a puzzle that you believe can never be put back together. The enemy has relentlessly whispered into your vulnerable moments that you are too broken, too flawed, and too deeply scarred for me to ever use you for anything glorious. He wants you to believe that your current state of exhaustion and your history of disappointment have become your permanent identity. But I am the master potter, and you are the precious clay in my sovereign hands. When a vessel is broken, I do not sweep the pieces away in disgust. I gently and purposefully gather every single shard. I do not just piece you back together to look exactly as you did before the storm. I mend your deep, painful cracks with the pure gold of my grace, making you far more beautiful, resilient, and spiritually valuable than you ever were before you were broken. Do not let the harsh voices of this world or the cruel, punishing echoes of your own self-condemnation define who you are anymore. People may have misunderstood your journey, walked away from you in your darkest hours, and labeled you based on your lowest seasons. But I do not call you by your mistakes, and I absolutely do not define you by the painful chapters of your past. I call you chosen. I call you redeemed. I call you my beloved masterpiece. You must actively and fiercely reject the toxic labels that hell has tried to place upon your mind. When the enemy attempts to paralyze you by reminding you of your past failures, remind him of my finished work and the undeniable victory I have already secured for you. Your identity is not up for negotiation. It was bought and paid for by a love so fierce and so deep that it literally shook the foundations of the earth. As you prepare to step out of this waiting room, I am commanding a divine reversal over your entire life. The very areas where you experience the most profound defeat, embarrassment, and loss will become the exact platforms where you will experience my greatest, most public victories. The intense sorrow that kept you awake at night is currently being transformed into a joy so radiant and deeply rooted that it will be a beacon of hope to everyone you encounter. Do not shrink back in fear, and do not apologize for the heavy anointing I am placing upon your life. Stand tall, my child. You are walking into a season where my unmerited favor will surround you like an impenetrable shield. I have fully equipped you, sustained you, and prepared you for this exact moment in history. Breathe deeply, cast off the heavy, suffocating garment of mourning, and step confidently into the magnificent destiny I have prepared for you since the beginning of time. My beloved child, awaken in the deepest place of your soul today, not with the heavy, paralyzing panic of yesterday, but with the gentle, profound awareness that I am right beside you. I am actively pulling back the veil of mist that has covered the eyes of your heart, layer by layer, so that you may once again see the brilliant sky of grace that worry has hidden for far too long. I know you have walked through seasons when your mind felt like a desolate valley filled with thick smoke. In that dark valley, every unanswered prayer became another layer of fog, and each fear joined itself to another fear, until the path before you grew entirely dim. You sat in the silence and wondered whether you had enough faith, whether I was truly listening, and whether light still remained for your future. But listen to me carefully. Do not fear your own questions. A soul that still asks is a soul that is still desperately searching for its Father. Doubt is not always the tragic end of faith. Very often it is a frantic knocking from a much deeper place within you, inviting you to move beyond a shallow, fragile trust into a truer, unbreakable knowing of who I am. I am never intimidated, offended, or pushed away by your honest questions. I simply do not want you to let those questions become thick, concrete walls that keep you isolated from my warm embrace. There is a kind of toxic doubt the enemy uses to pull you into deep bitterness, but there is also a holy shaking that I allow, so that the roots of your faith may grow exponentially deeper. A massive, towering tree only grows deep, unshakable roots when the fierce wind blows consistently against it. True, mature faith is formed when it no longer depends entirely on pleasant emotions, favorable circumstances, or immediate answers that fit your own human expectations. Remember Thomas. After my son had risen from the dead, Thomas's heart was so deeply wounded by grief and disappointment that he boldly declared he would not believe unless he physically touched the scars. My son did not angrily reject him, shame him, or cast him out for those raw words of doubt. Instead, he bypassed the locked doors, stood directly in the midst of Thomas's fear, and gently invited him to touch his wounds. Do you see, my precious child? I do not always answer your intense doubt with a harsh rebuke. Many times I answer it with my undeniable, overwhelming presence. I want to show you that your current wounds do not cancel your coming resurrection. What felt like it was crucified and buried in your life cannot prevent my glory from rising again. Bring your trembling, uncertain, and exhausted faith directly to me. Let me untangle the heavy cords of doubt that have wrapped themselves tightly around your mind, and watch closely as I turn your deepest questions into the magnificent doorway of your greatest revelation. My beloved child, let your heart become completely still so that you can hear this profound truth. I know there are moments when you look at the world around you and your soul is deeply troubled by what seems to be a grand injustice. You watch those who act with selfishness and pride appearing to prosper effortlessly, while you, who have poured out your heart in sincere prayer and walked in quiet obedience, continue to face struggle after struggle. You wonder why a genuine, tear-filled prayer must wait so long for an answer, while the wicked seem to advance without any hindrance. I have heard these agonizing questions long before you even dared to whisper them. I hear them in the late hours of the night when you stare into the silent sky, trying to understand why your faithfulness feels but unrewarded. But I say to you, do not measure my ultimate justice by a single incomplete chapter of your life. Human eyes only see a tiny fragment of time and rush to panicked conclusions, but I see the entire glorious unfolding of eternity. My patience with the world is never permission for injustice, and my delay in your personal breakthrough is never a sign of my weakness. If I were to instantly close every door and settle every account the moment you asked, the magnificent generational purpose I am actively building within you would be cut short. Think of Joseph, sold into brutal slavery by his own brothers, falsely accused and seemingly forgotten in a cold, dark prison. If you only looked at that specific moment in his life, you would only see tragic injustice, a deeply betrayed son, and a promise that looked entirely dead. Yet I was right there with Joseph in the chains, in the dungeon, and in the silent, agonizing years when nobody remembered his name. At the perfect, appointed time, what the enemy intended for his absolute destruction became the exact platform I used to elevate him and save countless lives. I am doing the exact same thing in your story right now. I am not distant from your pain, and I have not turned a blind eye to the things that have been unfairly stolen from you. The scales of justice are entirely in my hands. Every tear of frustration you have cried is being weighed, and I am preparing a divine restitution that will leave you absolutely breathless. Do not let the temporary prosperity of others poison your spirit with deep bitterness. Keep your hands clean and your heart pure, for your vindication is rapidly approaching, and it will be far more glorious and permanent than anything your human mind can currently imagine. My beloved child, I see exactly how hard you have been working just to keep your head above water. You have been functioning on pure survival mode for so long, waking up every single morning and strapping on heavy armor to fight battles you were never designed to fight alone. You have convinced yourself that if you just work a little harder, worry a little longer, or plan more perfectly, you can somehow force the breakthrough to manifest. But I am asking you today, with the gentle urgency of a loving father, to lay down your heavy sword. Your human strength has finally reached its absolute limit, and that is exactly where my supernatural power begins. You do not need to figure out every intricate detail of tomorrow. When you constantly try to control the outcome of every situation out of fear, you are unknowingly suffocating the very miracles I am trying to birth in your life. Understand this deeply. Total surrender is never a sign of defeat. It is the most courageous, monumental act of faith you can ever make. Think of a small, fragile lamp burning in a pitch-black room. The lamp does not scream or aggressively force itself to shine. It simply draws the oil and naturally allows the flame to pierce the darkness. You have been desperately trying to create your own light from your own limited resources. And that is exactly why you feel so spiritually and emotionally burned out. You need fresh oil today. That sacred oil does not come from the applause of people, the approval of your peers, or the exhausting illusion of maintaining a perfect life. It flows strictly from abiding quietly in my presence. When you sit with me in the absolute quietness of your heart, when you open your spirit to me not as a religious routine but as a desperate lifeline, I pour fresh healing oil over your weary soul. I am stepping into your situation right now to completely replace your profound exhaustion with a divine peace that wildly surpasses human understanding. Do not demand to see the entire staircase before you are willing to take the first step. I am a God who guides you step by step, breath by breath, day by day. When you trust me with the very next step, even when your knees are violently shaking and your vision is still heavily blurred by the fog of uncertainty, you are walking in profound, mature faith. I am not asking you to leap blindly across the ocean. I am simply asking you to place your trembling hand in mine and trust that I will absolutely not let you drown. The heavy, suffocating anxiety that has been your constant, unwanted companion is receiving an eviction notice from heaven today. Breathe in my sustaining grace right now. Exhale the toxic, paralyzing fear of the unknown. You are walking directly into a season of unprecedented divine alignment, where the very things that once caused you the most agonizing pain will soon become the undeniable instruments of your greatest testimony. Keep walking, for I am holding you steady. My beloved child, as I prepare to lead you out of this long, exhausting wilderness, there is a crucial instruction you must carefully follow. You absolutely cannot carry the heavy baggage of your past season into the new territory I am opening for you. I know you have been holding tightly to certain relationships, familiar environments, and old mindsets, believing they were essential for your survival. But many of those things were only meant for a temporary chapter. Sometimes I have to make your current situation feel incredibly uncomfortable, even painfully restrictive, so that you will finally be willing to let go and step into the greater purpose I have ordained for you. Do not weep over the doors that have permanently closed behind you, and do not grieve over the people who chose to walk away when the severe storms hit your life. Their departure was never a reflection of your worth. It was my divine intervention, shielding your future from connections that would have ultimately drained your spirit. I intimately know that stepping out of the familiar and into the complete unknown is deeply terrifying for your human mind. You have become so accustomed to merely surviving in the dark, constantly bracing yourself for the next disappointment, that the thought of actually living in the brilliant, unhindered light of my promises feels entirely unfamiliar. You silently wonder if the ground beneath your feet will actually hold, or if this new, beautiful season is just another fleeting illusion that will eventually shatter and leave you broken again. But I assure you with all the authority of heaven, what I am building in your life right now is not a fragile house of cards. It is an unshakable, immovable fortress established firmly on the bedrock of my eternal word. I am not setting you up to fail. I am setting you up to testify. It is time for you to boldly elevate your expectations. Stop praying small, timid, survival-based prayers. Stop asking me merely to help you barely make it through another week, and begin asking me to manifest the massive generational blessings that I have already written in your heavenly book. The long, agonizing famine of your soul is officially over. The days of constantly rationing your hope and perpetually expecting the worst are coming to a complete, final end. I am rapidly transitioning you from a heartbreaking season of barely enough into a glorious, overflowing season of more than enough. Breathe in the fresh, purifying air of this new beginning right now. Stand up, dust off the heavy residue of the wilderness, and walk forward with your head held high. I have gone before you to make every crooked path perfectly straight, and I am holding your right hand. My beloved child, I want to speak to the deep, silent fears you carry about your future and the legacy you are leaving behind. You look at the passing of time, and a quiet anxiety tries to grip your heart. You worry about your health, your fading independence, and the terrifying thought of ever becoming a burden to the people you love. You feel the physical weariness in your bones and sometimes wonder if your greatest purpose has already expired. But I am the Ancient of Days, and in my kingdom, your spiritual vitality does not diminish with age. It miraculously multiplies. My word declares that those who wait upon the Lord shall completely renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. I am breathing a fresh supernatural wind into your physical body and your weary mind today. I am absolutely not finished with you. Your latter days will be vastly more glorious than your former days. You are not a burden. You are a deeply cherished pillar of wisdom, a living testimony of my enduring grace. I also see the heavy, unspoken burdens you carry for your children and your loved ones. You have spent countless sleepless nights agonizing over their choices, their struggles, and their ultimate safety. You have desperately tried to fix their paths and shield them from the painful storms of this world, often feeling a crushing sense of personal failure when you could not protect them from every hurt. Tonight, I am asking you to take those heavy family burdens and lay them firmly at my feet. I love your children infinitely more than your human heart ever could. My hand of protection is upon them, and my Holy Spirit is actively pursuing them, even in the dark places where your words cannot reach. Trust me to be their ultimate Father and their perfect shepherd. Release the desperate need to control their destiny. Your tear-filled prayers for them have never been forgotten. They are stacked as a beautiful memorial before my throne. I am actively working behind the scenes to bring them into divine alignment at the exact right moment. When you finally let go of the heavy, suffocating yoke of worry, you make room for my miraculous intervention. Rest in the absolute certainty that I am fiercely protecting your bloodline. Your only job right now is to abide in my perfect peace, allowing your life to stand as a quiet, radiant reflection of my unwavering faithfulness. Breathe deeply, for your family, your health, and your legacy are entirely secure in my sovereign hands. My beloved child, come even closer to my heart tonight, and let the heavy, invisible armor you have been wearing to protect yourself finally dissolve in my presence. You do not have to carry this heavy burden alone anymore. You have spent years guarding your heart against disappointment, building high walls around your emotions because you were hurt so deeply by the people you trusted to protect you. You walk through life constantly expecting the other shoe to drop, bracing your mind for the next sudden storm because the pain of the past taught you that peace is always temporary. But I am standing in your inner sanctuary today to tell you that you no longer need to live in a state of perpetual hypervigilance. I am not a human father who will break his promises when the seasons change, and I am absolutely not a distant deity who calculates your worth based on your performance. You can fully let your guard down with me, for I never left you. I see the hidden, unhealed fractures within your soul that you never speak aloud to anyone. I know the exact memories that still make your chest tighten with anxiety when they flash across your mind in the quiet hours of the morning. You have carried the heavy weight of silent words spoken over you in moments of carelessness, words that told you that you were ordinary, that you were a disappointment, or that you would never truly amount to anything great. The enemy wants you completely distracted by these past words and deep hurts. Hell has used those old toxic lies to construct a false identity in your mind, forcing you to live beneath the exquisite dignity of a child of the King. But tonight, my voice is actively breaking the authority of every generational pattern, every spoken curse and every silent verdict of worthlessness that has been leveled against your destiny. I am rewriting your internal dialogue with the pure ink of my grace. Look at how I have meticulously preserved you through situations that should have completely destroyed your sanity. When the enemy came in like a flood to swallow your identity, my spirit raised an impenetrable barrier around your soul. You are still standing here today, still holding a faint spark of hope in your chest, not because you are remarkably strong in your own flesh, but because my sovereign hand has never released its fierce grip on your life. What the world labeled as a broken, cast-away vessel, I look at and see a holy, set-apart instrument of revival. I am turning your deepest vulnerabilities into your greatest spiritual weapons. Your tears were never wasted in my sight. The very areas of your life where you felt the most intense shame and rejection are being supernaturally converted into platforms of profound victory as a magnificent new season is beginning. Fear is not your future. Rest your tired mind, release the exhausting need to defend your story, and let my overwhelming love rebuild your life from the inside out. My beloved child, as we approach the final steps of this profound transition, I need you to stand completely firm in the absolute authority I have given you. Look back one last time at the shadows that once terrified you, and realize how small they truly are when placed beneath the blinding light of my presence. The enemy has tried to convince you that you are a helpless victim of your circumstances, destined to spend the rest of your days merely reacting to the blows of this world. But today, I am declaring a holy decree over your life. The reign of terror is over. Darkness no longer has the legal right or the spiritual authority to dictate your peace, your health, your mind, or your identity. I have placed a firm boundary line around your soul, and I have explicitly commanded the devourer that he cannot cross it. The very chains that once held your spirit captive are turning into the pure iron of your divine strength. Stop walking with the timid hesitation of someone who is waiting to be struck again. You have been looking at my promises with a cautious, guarded heart, whispering, "Father, is this truly for me, or will it be taken away like before?" I am your eternal, unchanging Father, and my gifts are completely irrevocable. When I declare a blessing over your household, no human conspiracy, no economic downturn, and no spiritual warfare can ever reverse it. I am exposing every hidden trap that has been set against your path, and I am turning those very traps into stepping stones for your sudden acceleration. You have survived the deep waters because my grace was acting as an invisible life jacket, and you did not sink when the waves were crashing over your head. Now I am calling you to walk on top of the very waters that once threatened to swallow you whole. Let your home become a sanctuary of holy anticipation today. Cleanse your mouth from the weary language of defeat and begin to speak the bold, radiant dialect of my victory. I am releasing a supernatural stream of provision, divine health, and unshakable alignment into the areas where you once experienced the most barren lack. The dry places in your garden are being deeply saturated by the heavy rain of my favor right now. You are being positioned as a living, breathing testament to everyone who doubted your survival, showing them what happens when a broken soul surrenders entirely to the Master's hands. Keep your eyes locked onto my face. Breathe out the last lingering residue of fear and prepare to step into the absolute fullness of the destiny I have carved out for you since the beginning of time. My beloved child, we have arrived at the final moments of this sacred sanctuary of words, but I need you to understand that this is absolutely not the end of our journey together. In fact, it is the glorious, monumental beginning of the new reality you have been desperately weeping, praying, and waiting for. As these powerful words settle deeply into the inner soil of your spirit, I am placing my eternal, heavenly seal upon your heart. The long, exhausting night of blinding fog, painful isolation, and heavy panic has been permanently conquered by the gentle warmth of my everlasting love. You are stepping out of this holy encounter, completely transformed, no longer as a weary wanderer dragging the painful chains of yesterday, but as a radiant beacon of my sovereign grace moving directly into the fullness of your destiny. I want you to take a deep, heavy breath of total freedom right now. Feel the final suffocating fragments of anxiety, toxic overthinking, and self-condemnation completely fall away from your tired shoulders. The enemy has completely exhausted all of his wicked, deceptive strategies, trying to make you bow your head in shame. But tonight, I am supernaturally lifting your eyes to meet mine. Look closely at my face and remember that you belong entirely to me. I am your firewall, your solid rock, and your eternal dawn. No weapon formed against your physical health, your family, your mind, or your divine destiny will ever prosper. The severe trials you survived were never meant to destroy you. They were carefully allowed to build a magnificent, unshakable foundation that will sustain the immense favor I'm pouring over your household today. Go forward into this new season with a brave, unshakable confidence. Speak the bold, radiant dialect of my victory, and walk with the absolute dignity of a chosen child of the King. You are the light of this world, a city set on a hill that can never be hidden. I am opening massive doors of supernatural provision, divine health, and unshakable alignment that no human conspiracy can ever shut. Your long, agonizing waiting season has officially ended, and your glorious harvest has finally arrived. If this prophetic word has spoken directly to the deepest places of your aching heart, type Amen in the comments right now to eagerly claim this divine blessing. Share this message of pure hope with another weary soul who needs to be reminded of my faithfulness, and anchor your spirit daily in this sanctuary of encouragement by subscribing to receive my daily prophetic path. Rest beautifully tonight, my precious child, for the storm has been completely rearranged, and your Father is firmly holding your hand through the brilliant dawn of your greatest breakthrough.